In the name of the cosmos. Hi, Moon. What? You're with Saturn. You're making plans, getting direction. That's good, because when Mars moves into Aries later in the month, we want to hand him a map. The moon becomes full at 1737 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, where it joins a very persistent and unwavering teacher, the planet Saturn, who's strong in its own side, retrograding, digging in its heels with lessons, in opposition to Mercury, who's now weakened in the sign of Cancer. Welcome to In the Name of the Cosmos. My name is Sarah Prakash. I'm a Vedic astrologer, and in today's video we're going to talk about the full moon cycle, the lessons that it's delivering, how it's activating our logical mind, teaching us how to act with precision as we start to gain energy in this fiery month of August as it begins. Now, the month of August has already been marked by some significant shifts, as we had Venus change signs, moving into the sign of Gemini, joining Rahu, and the very next day we had Mercury move from its sign to join the Sun in the sign of Cancer. And all in all, August is a very powerful month, not only as an personal level for all of us, but also on a global community level. There'll be significant shifts in our direction and the enforcement of our will and our action as Mars moves into the sign of Aries later in the month. So this first half is really aligning with the agenda of the full moon as it comes into the home that's ruled by Saturn. And this is where our moon starts to get structure. The nature of our mind starts to get structure. It starts to ask very tough questions about where we want to go and how we are going to get there, right? So often moons that travel through the signs that are owned by Saturn are not seen as desirous. But this is a misnomer in that it helps to structure our mind so that we're not just wandering aimlessly, not knowing where we want to go, feeling frustrated and feeling unfulfilled. So Saturn is really giving a very penetrating lesson about taking responsibility for yourself, about taking responsibility and understanding your nature of desire, about where you want to go so that it can be followed with action. Because once we understand the desire of where we want to go, action immediately starts to fall in. So it's about creating this plan about, okay, asking questions, what is it that you really want? And then how you align it with goals that help to support the agenda of your desires, right? Because Venus with Rahu right now, as I talked in separate videos, Venus is our desire nature, right? It's about what we want. And with Rahu, it's really blown up. And once Mars goes into its own sign, into the sign of Aries, Mars actually responds to the desire of Venus. So Mars and Venus are really the enforcers on the earth plane about what it is about our earth's desire, our earth stability, and how we activate this, right? So Mars and Venus are the earth plane stabilizers, right? And then our moon going through very bright and very full in this sign of Sravana Nakshatra, right? This lunar house of Nakshatra is activating the consciousness of the moon to say, okay, use your knowledge, use your wisdom, use education, and make a plan. Don't use your emotions, use your logic, listen to wisdom, and make your plan. Sravana Nakshatra is often referred to as this place of listening. And this is correct, but it's really linked to education. It's really rooted in education and wisdom and knowledge, right? So it's ruled by Vishnu. And through Vishnu's breath, the Vedas were born, right? So it's this transference of knowledge and wisdom. Vishnu is also represented by 3 feet. So it's about a path, right? And it being linked with Saraswati is about listening to the sound, right? So in the old cultures in the ancient times, and even through a lot of devotional practices that we see through Tibet In Buddhism, it's all through the transference of knowledge through repeating, right? And the memorization. Through Vedic studies, we're also taught it's the transference of information and meaning. Through studying of classical Indian music, we're taught through a repetition, right? So it's this transference of knowledge through wisdom and listening. This is the key of this nakshatra. One of my favorite examples of this nakshatra is Muhammad Ali. So I loved Muhammad Ali and I loved fighters. I used to watch boxing matches with my father. It was something to do in the 70s. And he was a real hero for me. And he has a very powerful moon in Sravana nakshatra. So he had this very clear, decisive desire about what he wanted to achieve, and he linked it up with a plan of how to get there and the impact to really make it stick. This is really the beauty of Sravana nakshatra or Saturn moons, is that it's this linking of our desires with our action and impact, right? And then Mars later in the month will help to realize these desires. This is the key that was coming. So you need to look at from the higher octave of teachings of this moon and not just think, wah. Saturn moons are tough to go through. Just grow up, because it's about this emotional fortitude, this emotional patterning that's really needing to be strengthened, about taking responsibility for ourselves, so that then through our own shift in our consciousness helps to change other people, right? Because once we're clear, other people around us start to get impacted and get clear, right? So this is a big lesson of this Sravana Nakshatra Capricorn moon. It's really beautiful. Really look at Muhammad Ali as a great example about how you can actually make it a success, because Sravana Nakshatra's moons are very fast. Sravana nakshatra moons are very fast. So this idea that Saturn restricts and hold back, that's not exactly true. Saturn is really teaching us to live by design, about creating a structure and living by design. It's really important through the understanding, through the divinity and the wisdom of the planets, and not just think about it in a Western sense of, oh, it's holding me back from doing whatever I want. That's not true. It's actually asking you to get clear about what it is exactly that you want, right? So it's teaching you to employ your wisdom, your logic, aligning it with your desires. And then you can create the plan of action. And then Mars comes in to support you at the second half of the month. It's really a great and powerful full moon. So the key thing is to really listen to yourself, to really listen to wisdom and not be hijacked by your emotions, right? And not be hijacked by other people's thoughts and their desires and what they want. This includes the news. Really listen to yourself, employing your wisdom and not your emotional erratic state. To really link up with your desires using the very steady support of Saturn, and then following it up with the action of Mars later in the month, right? Ask yourself the question, what it is that you really want, and then align it with goals that help to get you there, right? This is the key lesson for this full moon in Capricorn in Sravana Nakshatra, is about being clear about your goal, about being clear in your action, and being clear in the impact that you want. Right? So use this higher octave and don't just feel restricted by you not being able to do what you want, because perhaps what you want is not clear. Or perhaps what you want, you don't feel you have enough information. So then keep asking yourself the question, what it is I want. Start writing it out. Put it in front of you. Look at it. Put it at the feet of your bed and really become intimate with what you are saying that you want, to see if it really is integrating with your heart and with your higher state of self, to make sure that it's aligned with the path that you've come here to actually walk. Don't wander around right now. Start to take empowerment for yourself. Start to get strong in yourself, because August is going to move very fast, and we want to align our actions and our desires with how we have swift movement in the second half of this month. Now let's take a look sign by sign to see what houses it's going to activate for you, and see the classrooms of life that are going to come into the forefront for the month of August through this full moon cycle. Aries, this is happening in your 10th house of legacy, your 10th house of career, your 10th house of how other people see you, your 10th house of bosses and mentors. So this is indicating a time where you need to get clear about the direction of your career, of where you want to go professionally, what it is that you really want to do so it can get aligned with your actions. For Taurus, this is occurring in your 9th house of being able to receive and give information, your 9th house of spiritual activities, your spiritual commitments. So the full moon is really awakening how you can link your spiritual pursuit and practice deeply with where you want to go, about this awakening of it lining up with your true desire nature, not one that's being influenced by any outside activity. Gemini. So for Gemini, this is happening in your 8th house, your 8th house of receiving from others, your 8th house of the unseen, the 8th house of the occult. So it's a time of really actually taking some stillness in your self-awareness, of really understanding the nature of who you are, about really examining these kind of hidden spaces within you to kind of really take them out. Because when Mars moves into Aries, your 11th house, it will start to bring in new experiences, new relation, new partners, and new alignments. For Cancer. Cancer, this is happening in your 7th house of partnerships. So a lot of issues that are around the clarity of how your relationship is kind of steering forward, how the ship of you and your partner, and it doesn't have to necessarily be intimate partners. It can also be business partners, because 7th houses also can be seen with our agreements with other people or those that we're close with. So it's really about getting clear about how you're steering these relationships that are significant for you in your life, how you're really directing them together with those around you so that you get what you really want out of your relationships. For Leo, this is happening in your 6th house. So for Leo, you're going to be very active this month with your sign, the sun moving later into your sign, and also too with how Mars will be looking to your sign later. So you really want to take care of your health. You really want to get in an exercise. You really want to move your body, really use the energy and the force of this, so of the moon, to really decide of a new health regime for you, right? It can also awaken and illuminate where you have debt, where you haven't really looked at your debt, or how you're spending your money, or where you're kind of putting in subscriptions. This is important for you, like where your money is going. So it's your health, it's your wealth, and it's really about looking at it more fluid in a clarity rather than just a desire. I want this, I want that. Oh, I'll just eat this. Oh, I'll just do this and escape this. Like, it's really about wanting you to take a more disciplined action. For Virgo, so for Virgo, this is happening for you in your 5th house, your 5th house of creativity, of media, of drama, of things that you love, the things that you birth, the things that children you have, right? So here, it's really wanting you to pay attention to your creative pursuits, how you're putting your energy into your creativity, right? So even though Saturn they think is restrictive, it's actually wanting you to bring structure into your creative pursuits so that you can actually turn it into revenue. This is a key thing for Virgos. Also, too, look at how maybe with your children, how they're using spending, how your children are actually bleeding your account. So just make sure that you check with your kids how their iTunes and their Netflix and all these apps that they're downloading. Just make sure that you're not losing money there. So watch out for that. So for Libra, this is happening for you in your 4th house. So for your 4th house of your home, things that nourish you, your estate, right? So Libras are having a hard time in the first half of the month with relationships with people. They're being very much challenged by this, and how they're interrelating, being very emotional. Here, you need to really qualify what it is that brings a stable home. It's about really qualifying what really brings stableness and stability into your life. This is really what the full moon is going to highlight for you. For Scorpio, for Scorpio, this is happening in your 3rd house. So your 3rd house of colleagues, your 3rd house of your communication, right? Your 3rd house of your ability to listen. So again, you want to watch out that you're not preaching. This is really important for you, Scorpios, this month, that there's a real preachiness about you knowing what's right and how to do things, and really controlling and presenting yourself in knowledge of knowing everything. Actually, you need to really look within yourself and make sure that you're not over communicating from a position that's like a preacher, right? Because you have Jupiter in your second house of values, and right now he's communicating with Venus in a way that's like a little bit tense, where you can just be overly preachy this month. So watch out for that. Now for Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, this is happening in your second house of values, your second house of the connectivity of things, the second house of earned income, right? So here you can just be seeing how you can actually make connections, how you can earn more money, how you can bring in more wealth, how you can actually change the value system that you have to be more relating and aligning with who you are, rather than trying to be a good person and saying the correct things. For Capricorn, it's happening in your first house of self. So the full moon, along with Mercury's transit, is really highlighting and Venus as well. It's all highlighting you need to taking a real clear look at your physical state, much like Leo. So you really need to look at your physical state. You need to start to bring attention to your physical state. You need to bring attention to like how you're psychologically integrating your emotions, and that you are really taking kind of a wellness check with yourself. Your partners, your family can also bring this into attention. So just take care. For Aquarius. So for Aquarius, this is happening in your 12th house, the 12th house of the unseen things, the behind the scene things, the secret bed pleasures, things about creating something that is going to come out into the future. So for Aquarians, this is really bringing for you a place where you're working on a project that's behind the scenes, that you're kind of putting in a lot of energy and a lot of structure in how it can actually work, how it can bring satisfaction, how it really helps to deliver you to your higher state of self while supporting you. For Pisces, this is nice for you because it's happening in your 11th house. So your 11th house of making connections about how you can actually bring in more gains through your connections. So the full moon here will be highlighting how you can actually make new connections, how you can make new interesting paths for making connections. So even though we're in this restricted time, for Pisces, you'll be figuring out creative ways how you can make new connections. With Venus transiting into your 4th house with Rahu, this can kind of feel unstable in the moment. You may feel like you don't have enough connections, but just wait until Mars moves out of your 1st house into your 2nd house. It will start to bring in new people quite fast. So don't worry. Just look at how you can structure this creative time of finding new connections and new ways to meet people. I thank you very much for joining me in my video today. I wish you a very blessed, a very sacred, a very nourishing and enlightening, wisdom-filled moon. Please like and subscribe my videos. If you have a chance, please comment below. Let me know what you'd like to know. Let me know what you'd like to see. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Satanam.